Hey guys, this is Chelsea, and this is Intro to Robotics, Robot Project number 2. In reference to my last video, I used the same robot. The only thing is I replaced the push button with 3 line tracking sensors in the front. My goal is to make the robot drive around a track with a black background and a white line for the track. The robot is still being driven with 2 small gears driving 4 big gears. The middle sensor is to track the white line at all times, meaning the robot is driving straight. The left sensor is to see black at all times. If it sees white, the robot is to steer right until the center sees white again. The right sensor is to see black at all times. And if it sees white, the robot is to steer left until it sees black. I have my VEX LCD attached to the robot. The LCD is to display the values for all 3 sensors. The value for white is around maybe I'd say 300 and below, and for black it's above 600. The left value is for the left sensor, the middle value is for the center sensor, and the right value is for the right sensor. Code, I have included the VEX LCD library and the servo library. I'm declaring VEX LCD monitor, and both left and right motors, and then I'm initializing the 3 values of 3 sensors. Here's my threshold, 512, and then void setup. I'm attaching both motors on pins 10 and 11, and I'm initializing the LCD and displaying a string of track spot start, and then it'll delay for 1 second, and then it'll clear. And I come down here to void loop. I'm putting in my sensors as analog reads on pins 0, 1, and 2. And then here's the meat of the code, where it says if line L is less than the threshold, I want 1 motor to stop and 1 motor to go forward. That means the car will be turning left if the sensor is white. Else if line C or sensor C is less than the threshold, I want both motors to go forward. That means the center sensor is seeing black or is seeing white. And it's going to come down here to my another else if line sensor R is less than the threshold, then motor left this time will go forward and the right motor will be stopped, which meaning the right sensor is white. And that's it of this code. And this is the continuous code where it'll keep going around the track and keep going. In this objective, I'm using the same track, but this time the robot is going to start at one of the cross lines and count each line after that and stop at the line it started on. One of the difficulties I had was getting the sensors to read each cross line. At first they wouldn't count each line, they would skip over every other cross line, so the robot would loop around the track twice until it counted 4 lines. So I had to slow down the speed of the robot so the sensors could pick up each line and loop around the track once until it counted to the 4th line. On my VEX LCD, I have displayed line 4. The 4th line is the starting and finish line. The LCD will also display lines 1 through 3, and those lines are when the robot is still moving through the track. My code is the same as the last objective. I have included VEX and servo library. I have attached my VEX LCD and attached both my left and my right motors. And then I have my 3 lines tracking sensors. I have set their values at 0. And I have the same threshold, 512 on this one. And then I added my counter, and I set the value to it for 0 because I wanted to start counting at 0. And then void setup is the same thing as the last code. And here's what I added. This time I have a while loop this time. So while the counter is less than 5, the robot will be driving on the track, and it'll count up from 0 to 5. And then I have my 3-line tracking sensors. I put them on as analog reads. And here's the only difference. It says if line sensor L or left, line sensor center, and the right line sensor, if all 3 of the sensors read white, then I want the counter to count up 1. So I have both my motors on for this one, and I have a delay of 5 seconds, or not 5 seconds, 5 milliseconds, and then I'm going to have the LCD display the word line, and then it'll display at row 0, at column 10, it'll display the value of the counter at whatever line it counted. And then I have an increment up counter. So counter plus plus means it's going to count up. And then from there on out, it's the same code as the last time. If the left line sensor sees white, then I want the left motor off and the right one on. And if the center sensor sees white, I want both motors running. Or if the right sensor sees white, I want the left motor running and the right one off. And when it's done counting, both motors are going to shut off, and the robot will stop at the 4th line, which is the start and finish line. And then I have my while loop here, my while true statement. So while the robot is stopped, that means it'll stay true forever until I put another condition in there. That's all for this time. Thanks for watching.